Hello and welcome to video 4, the last video for the statistics project. This is where we left off. This is the second geographically weighted regression. This is the one that passed the model. And what we're going to do in this video is a couple of things. We are going to try to model future behavior. For this example, we would be modeling 2024 days reported for mental health. And just so happen to have that data set available so I can test it. For you guys, you're not going to have the 2024 election results yet, but you will at some point later in the year, and we'll give a little follow-up at that point. What you do have, however, is your list of variables that passed your geographically weighted regression model. In this case, the variables that I have are as follows. Average number of physically unhealthy days, percent of adults that report smoking, percent of adults that report obesity, percentage of households with overcrowding, percent driving alone to work, percent insufficient sleep, percent non-native English speakers, and percent population that lives in a rural area. And since these were all found in the healthy health layer for 2024, I'm going to use the same layer. I'm going to use County Health 2024. So if I open this attribute table and I go to fields again, this is all of the fields. And then I went ahead and found each of those variables. So smoking, obesity, et cetera, et cetera. And I went ahead and turned off all the other layers, so I would have this table that contains just my variables for 2024. And then this one, average number of reported mentally unhealthy days per month, that is my dependent variable. So what we're going to do is we are going to run a tool called forest-based classification and regression. To run that tool, you actually need two data sets. You need the original set, stats 20. That would be this one right here, stats var 20. That is the training data. And then you need a second data set to predict, and that's what I'm calling stats variable 24. So you're going to have to take a moment and find the 2024 equivalents of the variables you found for 2020. Once you have that, you can go ahead and run the forest-based classification. So we're going to go to your processing, forest-based classification and regression, spatial statistics tools. So exactly where everything else was found that we've been using. So for the requirements, we are not going to train, we are going to predict features. So we have a predict features, predict the raster. We're not using raster data sets, so we're going to predict the features. The model is forest-based. The input training features, this is the model you just created. So this is stats 20. It's exactly the same as filling in either of those linear regressions to start off with. So the variable to predict is for mental health days. And then it asks, what are your explanatory variables? You can just click this little button right here to grab all your variables. Click that button. And then uncheck the ones you don't want. So those three. Also, don't run the dependent variable again. And that one got removed. And the rest of these stayed. Yep. So go ahead and click add. Then what that does is it puts your variables here. If they are categorical, you mark them. They're weighted a little bit differently. Categorical, not numbered. Leave all this the same because we're not doing distance or rasters. And then you go to input prediction feature. So this is the 2024 variable. So I'm going to choose stats bar 24. And then this is the name you want to give it. So I just called it FBCR 24. Then what it does is it takes your prediction, which is 2024, and your training, which is 2020, and tries to match them. They need to be identical or this won't work. And it actually found all of them except for this one. The name is different. So that's Food Environment Index Numerator. This is population that is food insecure. Those are the two. Those are the same variable. They just have different names. So I filled that in. The little X goes away. It tells me everything's good. We're going to leave all of this the same, and we're just going to go ahead and click run. And the output of this, let me go ahead and turn this layer off. Close this. I'm going to close this. There is my FCBR. And what it's doing is it's giving you a predicted value based on your criteria. So it's trying to predict how many poor mental health days each of these counties have between 2 and 5. And if I look at the actual data set, because I have that available, there we go, stats 24, attribute table, for mental health days. It's between 3 and 7, so it's a little bit off. But essentially that's what it does. It tried to predict this variable. Now the outputs, find my history again. Here's my forest-based. I'm going to view details. And then go to messages. So you can ignore this top one, this final characteristics. Top variable of importance is poor physical health days, which if we remember from the scatter plot, however many videos ago, that one had the straightest correlation. It was almost a diagonal line. What we are looking for are these validation regression diagnostics. So we don't want to look at the training data because the training data should match the model. That was the whole point of generating the model, and it does it with 98% accuracy, which is pretty good. The validation is testing the two models against each other with a 0.90 is also pretty good. So that is the R² value that you will need to report. And then that is all we need from this. So at this point, you have everything you need for this project. The only thing that's left is exporting some of these layers. So let's go through all the layers you need to export. The first one you're going to need to export is your stats variable 20. Exporting is the same for, I guess it's technically called sharing in this program. It's the same for every layer. What you do is you right click on the layer, you go to sharing, share as web layer. You have to share as web layer. You can give it a regular title here. So in this case, this is my mental health variables for 2020. And then make sure you give it a summary, make sure you give it tags, and make sure you share. You can just start with your organization. You will have to eventually share with everyone, but if you just want to start with your organization, that's fine. Your summary can be similar for each of these layers. Layer generated as part of election statistics lesson for the Geospatial semester class. Then go ahead and publish it. You might run into that ID not being assigned error. I doubt I'm going to get it because I've already published it in this map, but let me show you what it means. Oh, sorry, not layer properties, map properties. That's my bad. There we go. So if you get something that says allow assignment of unique numeric IDs for sharing web layers, actually it is going to give me an error, so go ahead and publish it. Bingo! You must fix all errors before you can share. Unique numeric IDs are not assigned. You double click this. Allow assignment of unique numeric IDs. Click OK. I actually have 2 errors here, so this works well for me. Shape field is not visible. Double click that one. Oh, no, that doesn't do it. Yeah, that's worth it. So what that means is I have to go to my layer stats bar 2020, this one, or 20. I'm going to open my attribute table. I'm going to right click on fields. And I need to make sure that the shape is visible. So I have to turn them on. I have to save. And then if I go to publish, it should be happy. Yep, it's happy. So you need to do both the stats variable 2020 and stats variable 2024. In the requirements, it specifically says that you need those maps with the pop-up configured to show all the variables. And that is the only layer that is going to have all of those variables labeled for you. All of these tests, the variables kind of disappear in the attribute table. So make sure you export both your 20 and your 24. You also need to do your first and last generalized linear regression. So under stats 20, here's my first GLR, generalized linear regression. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to sharing, and I'm going to share that web layer as well. I'm also going to do this one, stats bar GLR2. And then you only need the final geographic weighted regression. This should be number 2, because remember the first time you run it, you're doing golden search. Second time you actually run with the correct number of neighbors. So you're going to want to export this one as well. And then the final layer is this FBCR. So make sure that you export all of those. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers. So go through them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's it for technology part of this. Yeah, I'll save that for the video. Make sure you read the directions, the rubric, the criteria, all of those things. You don't want to miss out on points just because you're missing one of the requirements. But that is it for Pro. So good luck. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And as always, let us know if you have any questions.